Welcome to the Ellen Show. Ellen Spitler, that is. I know, easy to confuse with Ellen DeGeneres. This Ellen Show is all about literacy and much less funny and no prizes. So welcome to the program. We are live from YouTube. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ellen Spitler. I'm an assistant professor of secondary language arts and reading at the Institute for Teacher Education and the director of the Hawaii Writing Project at the College of Education, University of Hawaii at Manoa. I know that's quite a mouthful, but the bottom line is that I love literacy and I love sharing my passion with other teachers, not to mention my love of the Hawaiian Islands. While my specialty is in preparing English teachers, I also teach a literacy course for teachers of all subject areas, similar to Grand Valley's EDR 613 course. A shout out to my Grand Valley watchers. Thank you for your continued support. As with any diverse group in a classroom setting, I receive some pushback from pre-service teachers who don't believe in teaching literacy in their classrooms. During one particular semester, I was working with one of my students named Bob. Now, Bob was especially resistant to content area literacy instruction, but Bob had quite a transformation by the end of the course. Bob's transformation to openly embrace and advocate for literacy instruction in a secondary math classroom was so significant that his story should be shared as an example of the possibilities that exist when teacher literacy identity development is purposeful, strategical, and practically supported. Well, guess what? Today, Bob is our special guest. Bob is here to share his literacy journey. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Bob. Come on out, Bob.
Thanks for having me on the show, Ellen.
Yes, welcome to YouTube, Bob. It's so great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
So, Bob, why don't you tell the watchers here a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. I took your course as an undergraduate studying to be a math teacher, and we also worked together while I did my student teaching. Now I teach full-time math, and I'm an avid supporter of literacy in the classroom.
A man after my own heart. But that isn't how you started out.
Oh, no. I was frustrated with the course. I didn't see the purpose at all, actually, and I made that clear during class discussions and in my reflections. Sorry about that.
Don't worry. Your transformation was worth it. But do you remember those first assignments?
When we were first given a description of what a reading log was, I was immediately bored and wanted to learn a strategy that I probably would never use as a math teacher. I felt that the math education I received was successful since I love math and I never had math reading log as a student in high school or college. I didn't think I would ever use this strategy in the future, and I'd never seen it used before. And it did make a lot of sense to use it in the future since I didn't plan on setting my students to read an algebra text.
So what changed as the course progressed?
I realized I didn't have a clue as to how to teach math. I knew that I had a good deal of knowledge regarding mathematics, but I still needed and desired to learn more how to get my knowledge from me to the students. I didn't know much what to do there.
So let's tell our listeners how this happened.
It started with multimodal literacy self-portrait project you had us do.
For those of you who don't know, this project has students reflect on literacy experiences throughout their lives and find a material to represent that experience and put the materials together into a self-portrait. The final project was then shared with the class. Why do you think this was such a meaningful experience to you?
This project gave our class a sense of community. That was something that was just missing in my student teaching placement. I could definitely sense its loss. My students, just like myself, need to have valuable membership in a community. The project also made me excited about the class. And with your help, I was able to implement a similar literacy project within my math classes.
So proud. So what else would you say from our class shaped your teaching today?
Well, when you had us reflect on our reading strategies, I thought I didn't really use any strategies. I just read to learn. After further discussion and reflection, I realized all the strategies that I had used, I just took for granted. I just assumed my students were like me.
It's a very common mistake for teachers to tie their beliefs about classroom practice to views of themselves as readers and how they learn to read. They believe that their students will learn just like they learned, and that's often not the case.
That was very, very true for me. My other problem was my limited definition of literacy. I thought literacy was just being able to read.
And how did that change?
By the end of the course, I realized that in the math classroom, literacy is writing to learn, speaking to learn, and collaborate, and thinking about math conceptually. It is a person's ability to read, write, speak, think, visualize, represent the language of a discipline. Um, that is definitely what I want for my students.
And as I remember, you gave us an algebra lesson, and you used some of those strategies to promote this mathematical literacy.
Yeah, I remember that. I used a structured note-taking strategy from Buell that had two columns. One column we wrote and solved a problem, and on the other side we wrote our approaches for solving. With this strategy, I really wanted to emphasize that good note-taking is strongly related to understanding and learning new concepts. This was a way to write and learn, and it kept my students accountable for participation as well. Previously, I'd never considered all the literacy strategies that would help my students learn math.
Wow. Well, what advice would you give to teachers now?
I would tell teachers to reflect on their own thinking and their own lessons, to have their students do reflecting as well. Just write it all down. Ask big questions, think, and write. Reflection was a huge part of my growth as a literacy math teacher then and now.
I did have you do a lot of reflection in our literacy course, didn't I?
Yes, you did. And I had never seen the value previously. Personal reflection holds you more accountable. You write down what worked, what didn't work, any ideas that you'll do next time, and anything you're going to refine. And when students reflect, you get them thinking metacognitively. You get to see what they know and how they are thinking. It's a win-win.
I completely agree. Authentic and enduring learning occurs when learners not only behave and think, but they go meta. That is, they can reflectively turn around, think about their own thought and their actions, and analyze how and why their thinking achieved certain ends or didn't achieve certain ends. Metacognition, consciousness of how and why one is learning particular things in a particular way, is the key to deep learning. Are there any other strategies that you would encourage teachers to use in the classroom?
Just like you had us do, I would encourage all teachers to build community and motivation in the classroom from the beginning. I spent 3 days doing this at the beginning of the year, and other teachers thought I was crazy. But if I didn't take the opportunity to get to know the kids, they wouldn't be comfortable in coming to me during tutoring and conference time. Those days of community building helped when, when I later asked them to struggle and construct their own discoveries of other algebra concepts.
Good for you. How did you find this time, though, with a textbook full of concepts and state-mandated tests? Where was the time for this?
I realized that I couldn't use all the books and all the ideas. Yes, I need to challenge myself and my students and have to prepare them for tests, but I don't have to follow everything the textbook wants me to do. My literacy instruction is covering both of those needs.
Wow. So how can we bring this idea, this change of perspective to other teachers?
Well, for me, I'm learning the fact that I'm going to be teaching human beings first. Students second. Coming to this realization is powerful. And to me, because it brings a lot of the pressure off me to be this awesome math teacher, I'm beginning to think as long as I'm good at a human being teacher, the math will come right along for the ride.
I completely agree. I think you summed up literacy instruction really well. Now, we've given some great tips to teachers out there in the field. We've encouraged them to start the semester by having students write their own literacy autobios, along with creating their literacy self-portraits. It's also important to note that during the presentation, students should take notes and make connections and share what stood out to them. And also, as Bob said, teachers should include a reflection of their own required of students to encourage this metacognition. Would you like to include anything else, Bob?
I would encourage teachers to include as much anticipation of learning as possible. Get students excited about what they're going to learn. Yes. Also, teachers must model and practice reading and note-taking strategies with their students.
Those are so true. I think those are some really great strategies. Teachers need to find and model the strategies that fit best. There's not a one-size-fits-all. Find what works for you.
Yeah, we have more ideas and strategies in the article that you wrote, don't we?
Oh, definitely, we do. And I would encourage all teachers, especially math teachers, to check it out. Now, one critique of the article and our time here is that we didn't get the chance to share many of those specific strategies we use to promote literacy in detail.
That's true, but passionate teachers can look to our references and great ideas from these books and articles.
That's true. Also, I wish that we could have included more data to convince those uncertain teachers the impact of teaching literacy.
Sounds like something we should do in our next article and show.
Exactly what I was thinking. Well, Bob, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to our watchers for all of your support. If you want to read more about Bob's story, I wrote an article entitled From Literacy to Advocacy for Math Literacy: One Teacher's Literacy Identity Transformation. I hope you were inspired by Bob's story. Bob illustrates the kind of transformation that we all need and the kind of transformative education we should thoughtfully pursue. Thanks again. This is Ellen.
And Bob.
Live from YouTube, signing out.